Hey there, this is Amelia here. Welcome to Amelia's crossdressing story. Today we are going to share a story called A Suitable Case for Treatment Part 5 by Crow. For more interesting and exclusive stories, please subscribe to my channel and support me at Patreon. I was surprised when I saw her. She looked very different from the working girl I knew. Not just good-looking, attractive indeed, she had brushed her hair across and over one shoulder, a simple but tantalizing effect. In other circumstances. But I didn't get the chance to speak. Wow, Christine, you look great. Your skirt is even shorter than mine. Nice arse. I grinned, we giggled, it was obviously going to be a fun evening, at least I hoped so. I was still nervous about going out dressed, so many things could go wrong. And we did both look as if we were man-hunting, out to attract. I complimented Tanya on her appearance, we linked arms as I shut the door and walked down to her car. It was only a short drive to the pub. I managed to settle my thoughts as we pulled into the car park ready for my first social outing as a woman. As we strolled up to the door, Tanya muttered to me, "Sorry Christine, I'm a bit short of cash this week. Since I've driven here, how about you get the first drinks in?" At first I thought she had a bit of a nerve asking me that. But then I realized I had done the same, gone to the pub and asked a mate for a $5 to get the drinks when I was skint. Anyway Christine, I don't plan on having to, but more than one tonight. She looked at me knowingly, I knew just what she meant. I smiled and agreed. We went in. The pub wasn't full by any means, we were a little early and it was midweek after all. But we were greeted with a warm smile by a young man behind the bar. "Good evening ladies, what can I do for you?" The double entendre was blatant, we both heard it and both ignored it. I spoke up. "Gin and tonic and, sorry Tanya." "I'll have the same thanks." "Okay Christine, I'm just going to grab that little table over there." She disappeared to do so. I must say I got tremendous satisfaction out of such a simple thing as buying a couple of drinks. I looked down as I carefully carried them across to Tanya. By now I was getting used to the sight of my longish red nails. Maybe I should get a longer pair of false ones, they could look really attractive. Tanya and I sat for a while. She was watching one of the guitarists in the band who were beginning to set up. "I hope you like this sort of stuff, Christine. They're Spindau Bullet, I've seen them before. That guitarist is just gorgeous, isn't he?" I looked across. Indeed he was. At that moment he was bending over to connect some wires trailing across the floor. His shirt rode up to show his back, and his bum just below a tight pair of hipster jeans. "Cor, Christine, did you see that?" Tanya almost shouted. I could see Tanya was determined to enjoy herself and more that evening. It also occurred to me that, if she was going to try to get off with this guitar player, maybe I was going to be expected to go with one of the other band members. I gave them the once-over, not realizing at the time that I was really doing so from a distinctly feminine point of view. The other guitarist was very tall and skinny and had a ridiculous mustache. I didn't fancy him at all. The keyboard player and the lead vocalist were both definitely very tasty, smooth, smart, good-looking. But they both had attachments. In each case there were two young ladies, either girlfriends, no, couldn't be, surely, not two girls at least, hanging round them, helping with the setting up and so on. But the drummer, he was on his own. Just tapping away, getting ready. He looked tall too, though he was sat down, but really very handsome. Maybe a bit thin on top, but not much. And definitely a very nice figure, bulging muscles, tight-fitting t-shirt. I could definitely fancy him. Fancy him? I realized. What was I thinking? But the whole daydream became academic. Just as the band was beginning to set up, I noticed two other guys heading our way. Carrying 2 drinks each, 1 beer and 1 other glass. I knew they were gin and tonics. They must have asked the barman what we were drinking. As they reached us, Tanya saw me looking and turned. Jeff Groves. How are you? Haven't seen you for ages, hello there." She obviously knew him. It turned out they had known each other for years, since college, indeed had at one time been something of an item. "It must be 10 years ago, Jeff. I've not seen you since, when was it, Jane's party, do you remember?" I do indeed, Tanya. That was when you got off with that lad from Nottingham, the big guy, used to play football nearly every day. That's right, I'd forgotten him. Can't even remember his name. Anyway, Jeff, it's good to see you. At which point the band started. They were good, but they were loud, killed off all attempts at conversation. After a few songs, Jeff and Tanya got up and headed towards the other, smaller, cozier, bar. I picked up my drink and followed, along with Steve, who introduced himself to me. I wasn't too sure about coming tonight, but now I am so glad I did, he said, in what he hoped was an endearing way. But it didn't really come out like that, it sounded rather crawling, rather patronizing. He was obviously making some sort of play for me. It was an ideal setup for him, of course. Jeff and Tanya were getting it together, if they wanted to be alone later then. And I really did want to make a go of it. Part of the point of Dr. Morgan's therapy was obviously so that I could experience as much of being a woman as possible. And men were again obviously part of that experience. Steve was, I guess, rather handsome. I could see why some girls might find him desirable. In fact, I did, in a way, but he seemed to be taking a lot for granted. When Tanya and Jeff went back to watch the band some more, Steve moved to sit closer to me, at one stage putting his hand on my leg. He really was pushing it, and I was indeed getting the other side of the boy/girl experience. Eventually we got up to leave and he kept hold of my hand. I let go and told Tanya we were leaving. She gave me a broad grin and said good luck. But I think she knew from my face I wasn't really enjoying the attention. Anyway, Steve did drive me home, and looked expectant as he pulled up to the curb. I realized it was now or never and decided, never. I leaned across to give him a peck on the cheek. Sorry, Steve, I really must get some sleep tonight, I'm at work tomorrow. Which was true but not much of an excuse. I very quickly got out of the car and trotted up to my front door, got my key in very quickly and turned it. At which exact point things started to go wrong. For nearly 48 hours, Christine had a bad time. I caught my heel in the step just outside the door as I went in and almost fell over and broke the heel. And broke a nail as I steadied myself. But I got the door shut and breathed a sigh of relief. And I had a hole in my stocking. And I spilled coffee on my dress in the kitchen 10 minutes later. And broke a bra strap in my rush to get the dress off. The problems just kept on coming. I got to bed okay but was awakened several times during the night by noises outside the house. A couple of motorbike fanatics seemed to think it was fun to race up and down the road. That went on for nearly an hour. Then in the morning, the Wednesday, it took me 3 attempts to get my makeup right. The first try was appalling and wouldn't have fooled anybody. Happily, after taking all my makeup off and starting again, the third try worked well. And then it was raining. Not heavily, but enough to wet my thin coat on my way to work. I thought things would be okay after I had dried out, and I only had Mary and Jackie to explain why I was late too. They commiserated with me, assumed it was my period, made me a coffee and so on. Tanya did roll in at about 10 o'clock. She looked shattered too, we all knew why. But she was full of it, graphic details of what she and Jeff had got up to the night before in sympathy that I hadn't got off with Steve. Then I dropped a whole load of hangers as I was trying to move some stock, and got a hole in my stockings again, had to go next door to the shop there to buy some more. And in the afternoon got some oil or something rather dirty on my sleeve when I was sorting through some donated clothing. I really wish people would get stuff at least cleanish before they give it to us. I was really glad to get out of work that day, at least the rain had stopped. I walked straight home and got myself a large gin and tonic as soon as I got in, then sat and tried to relax in the evening, hoping for at least some quiet time by myself. But no, that Black Wednesday just went on and on. I knew I had to get some clothes clean. I had 3 tops, several pairs of panties and tights and stockings and some other things to clean. I sorted out those items to be done by hand and shoved the others in the washer, then settled for a meal and some TV in the evening. I left the ready meal in the oven too long, it came out nearly black. I had to make do with a sandwich that evening. And the clothes I had done, one of the blouses was ruined, I hadn't noticed the label said dry clean only. And then to top it all, I set the iron too high and ruined the skirt I had bought earlier that week. And I ran out of gin. As I settled in bed that evening, I just hoped that the next day my luck would turn. I didn't exactly cry myself to sleep, but I came close. The weather was on my side. Thursday morning was bright and sunny, and warmer. My coat had dried out, at least that was okay. Nothing went wrong in the first hour. I was hopeful, decided to wear something different that day to try to cheer myself up. I found a shortish red skirt in the wardrobe, that with a very classy cream-colored frilly blouse, and the pair of red high heels, a red bag, a rather nice pair of clip earrings with rubies in a plain gold setting. After dressing and looking in the mirror, I felt much better. I put on a brighter lipstick than the previous day, and redid my nails in the same color. At 8:45, I inspected myself in the mirror. Better. I was much more cheerful as I left the house, beginning to walk down the road. There were even swans on the river again. Life looked better. And then I saw Jason. He was out jogging, running towards me as I strolled along. He paused as he approached. "Morning, Christine, great day, isn't it?" It was. I smiled. "Yes, it is, the river looks lovely in the sunlight." "Finished your run?" "Yes, just a mile along the riverbank and then back." "Sets me up for the day." I didn't really know what to say. I mean, I wasn't used to it, being chatted to by a young man, not in that way anyway. I smiled and walked on. If I had just gone through Odd Sunday, Strange Monday, Different Tuesday and Black Wednesday, I couldn't really have predicted that this was going to be Weird Thursday. It really had started out well. Even Mary commented that I seemed much better, much more cheerful, than the previous day. She probably thought my period had settled down. It was when Jackie said that my skirt was short, maybe I was looking for someone, that I began to get an indication that things might turn out differently today. I set to clearing some of the books from the stockroom while the others worked in the shop, tidying clothes and serving customers. It was then I came across another box of mixed books which looked as if it had come from the same place as the one I had dealt with 3 days earlier. Only 3 days! It seemed ages since my womanhood had begun. And in the box I found, along with assorted romances and slushy stuff, 2 more old hardbacks, like the one I had seen then. Maybe the guy who had been in then would pay over the odds for them? I felt I had to ring him. After all the money earned was for charity, I should really get what I could for them, not just put them out at £1 each. I found his business card and rang the number. That's all for now. See you in the next video. Please subscribe our channel and join me at Patreon for more interesting and exclusive stories.